Please let's get seated for the final session of the day. We have the White House joining us just momentarily. Ashley, picture time later. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Come on, Anthony. I'm learning everybody's names. It's pretty impressive. What's yours? Hope. I hope everybody will take their seats soon for the final session of the day. We have Harry Chung, who is on the President's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. He's going to be joined by Injective's Noah Axler to talk about the state of crypto. There was a meeting today, apparently, between the President and House officials on clarity, apparently, so maybe we'll dig into that as it hangs in the balance. Noah, do you want to take it away? Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. I'm Noah Axler, General Counsel of the Injective Foundation, and have the pleasure of introducing Harry Jung, who's Deputy Director of the President's Council of Advisors on Digital Assets. Welcome, Harry.
Well, thank you for having me, and appreciate everybody sticking around for the last session.
Yeah, we've got two lawyers for the last session, so it's a bold move, but I think given where you are sitting these days, you have a lot to tell us. So let me ask you first, tell us a little bit about the council and its mission.
Sure, absolutely. So where did it start? Obviously, the vision came from during the transition time as well. Actually, my colleague, Patrick, was down there during the transition, and there's an idea that how great would it be to create a dedicated office for crypto in the White House. Obviously, this industry has gone through a tremendous amount in the last couple of years, lack of regulatory clarity, enforcement, and such. But to have a point office within the White House where they could really quarterback issues, industries, and things like that would be incredibly helpful. So that's how it sort of the idea started. And from there, obviously, David Sachs, who we still work with greatly, and sort of the vision and the guidance that he provides is valuable. And then we had Bo Hines, who started as the first executive director early on, January 2025. I got involved with the, and I'll do a shorter name for our office because our name is like way too long. We just call us like the White House Crypto Council. It's like so much easier, better acronym too when we write emails. With my involvement at the CFTC prior to coming into the White House, so that sort of started with the pursuant to the executive order that the president signed early on January 2025. Was the order was to create a presidential working group, right, that involves a buffet of financial regulators to become, write the rules, what the framework is, create a report, 180 days to become the crypto capital of the world. And I was a representative from the CFTC, from the SEC. You might know, he's currently the chairman of the CFTC. He was the SEC representative. We have Tyler Williams and his team, which is fantastic, as a representative from Treasury, and then it was Bell. So we gathered multiple times a week since January, and we still meet till this day, actually in the same office. I talked to them way too much, but that's how committed this, we call it the PWG, has been the last year and a half. And what did we do? So there was a 180-day report that we did that was released in July of 2025. That basically was the roadmap for the United States to become the crypto capital of the world. If anybody's counting, on page 141, it starts like a list of recommendations that covers from capital markets, banking, payments, insurance, taxation, cyber, and even reshoring efforts to do that. So what the PWG does is to make sure that those recommendations are implemented. And on top of that, while we were creating the 180-day report, we obviously had to do Genius and also get clarity out of the House. So that was a super fun time. I started in like May-ish, so I've been here quite long. It was like me and Bo, and then now it's like me and Patrick. So seen it all, but it's been an incredible opportunity. And especially we have a people don't realize how small the office is. It's like literally like David Sachs, Tracy, our chief of staff, that really glues everything together, and then Patrick and I on the crypto side. So that's been our journey, and I think it's no surprise that our number one priority right now, as of I just came here like 20 minutes ago, was all things market structure and clarity. So I'm sure you're going to ask these questions, but I know what you're going to ask basically.
Yeah, we're going to get to clarity, but if you want to preempt me on that.
Yeah, it's we are full force, number one priority in our office to get clarity over the finish line out of the Senate. It was quite the journey. I think it's no surprise. I think everybody here is probably on crypto Twitter, that it's been widely reported of sort of the journey that has been since clarity came out of the House. A variety of things happened, but always on the Senate side, we had to get it out of two committees. Came out of the Ag Committee, came out of Senate Banking, bipartisan efforts there. So that was incredibly huge. And now we're trying to, we're counting. We're literally, I don't know if, I'm sure there's folks in here who've been to our office, but we have a calendar. We're literally like counting the hours and days on when the Senate is in session. So like time is of the essence here. And people ask me like, what yard line do you think we are? Like, I don't know. But I'll tell you, like, is it like the 2-yard line, the 1-yard line? Great, I'll do like 2-yard line. And I was talking to Gerald before. It was like, I'm a Giants fan, but it's like tush push time, to get it into the end zone. And then I think that'll be incredible for our country to get out of the Senate.
Do you have anything you can tell us from today's events that might be of interest on clarity?
What I'll say is that we are nonstop working. I'll tell you that. I mean, my voice is like gone by the end of the day, just like fielding calls, and Patrick's voice is gone. So literally we sit across from each other all day just talking about this. So, but I'll just say that.
Fair enough. Would you be willing to share with us what you think the final hurdles are in getting clarity across?
Well, it's continuing to stay engaged with industry folks, and obviously working. We are talking to our side of the aisle and the Democrats as well, right? I mean, you saw that from sort of the fruits of the labor coming out of the Senate Banking Committee. It came out bipartisan, but it's always, that's not an easy thing, especially regarding crypto, especially where crypto has been. But I think that was a testament to how much effort that we put in, but also as the other side, and keeping those lines of communications open. It's incredible to me that how crypto and tokenization and blockchain became like a battle in the prior years of like a good and evil thing, which is like crazy to me. It's like technology, and like I'm pretty new to. I always say this, and I feel a little. How do I say this? I'm new to government, so I'm new to a lot of the processes over that building right there. So I'm always asking folks like on the Hill, like what is the process? Because I'm learning. I'm coming from more of like a industry side. That's where I came from. It's just like is with the mindset of is what we're writing on text and things like that, is that actually implementable? Because like as a business person, as somebody that's like on the private sector, okay, you got these rules and laws coming down, but like if they don't make sense from a business standpoint, and it's not, you can't actually implement them. Like what is the purpose? Mm-hmm. So hopefully that was sort of like, I could be like that value add. But we've had great engagement with folks in the industry as well, because at the end of the day, the innovation happens way faster in the private sector. So as policymakers, we have to stay engaged. We've heard stories where, in the prior years, where you could ask for a meeting with a regulator, you don't hear back, like our policy, and obviously with David's been a titan in the private sector space. Like, all right, let's talk. Like what I always ask the question, like, what are exciting projects that you guys are working on? And then the stuff we hear, are like, wow, it always amazes me. There's so much potential, and there's continued growth. Blockchain is an incredible technology. There's so many use cases. I mean, we're so caught up in the financial regulatory space, but I always say, like, that's only like one slice of the potential that blockchain has. There's the amount of commercial use cases that's out there, that's happening right now, and that more is going to come to it. That's really exciting for me.
Let me ask you, because you touched on it. You were previously at the CFTC, and before that, you were in private industry. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about how your background sort of influenced your views on crypto and your new entree into regulatory work?
Yeah, I'm like exhausted from like the word like market structure and clarity, because like I still remember like when like Fit 21 was happening, like just a couple, and then in crypto years, like 1 year is just like sort of like dog years, so like you just like exit by whatever, but like market structure this topic has been around for a long time. I still remember that, and I was at Citigroup before I came into government, like 2.5 years ago, and at that time, folks were exploring like what I think the first questions even from regulators. This is like back in like 2021. Was like, what is Bitcoin? What is DLT? And you could really like age yourself. I know exactly what period of like this ecosystem folks went into when they talk about like DLT versus like blockchain. I'm like, oh, you refer to as DLT, yeah, you're probably from like that era, right? So it has evolved, but that I went through that the very like exploratory stage at a bank at that time, where it was like, you didn't have the right regulatory rules at that time. You didn't have the administration that was really helping you. So that's why it was pretty difficult to like really talk to board members, executives, like why this is important, right? But if I look back, you work at a bank, and then they do tons of payments, all these pipes and plumbing. Like, all right, here's this technology that makes it like way superior and way more efficient and way faster. But ultimately, it took years, especially in Congress, here, everywhere on the educational piece, and this industry has come a long way. So I've seen that like history, and to where we are today, it's incredibly refreshing. And as we even work through market structure, like, we talk to congressmen, senators, and a lot of them get it. But ultimately, like the person who does get it is like the president, right? Ultimately, our boss. And he made a campaign promises on like crypto is an incredible technology. The POTUS always truths about it too. There's a reason for that. He understands the importance for the U.S. to become the leader in this, and we will become the leader. And we already have the companies here that are already leading. Other jurisdictions are not waiting, and they have not waited. There's like, I won't name specific jurisdictions, but they've already had their frameworks for years. But the beauty of us in the U.S. is we can be malleable, right? We'll put more thought to it, and then you never bet against the American entrepreneur.
Well said. Well, I think we've grilled you enough on clarity. Let's turn to Genius for a second. Obviously, the industry welcomed the passage of Genius. We've talked about it a lot today. What's left to do on Genius, in your view?
So the Treasury team has been incredibly busy. Obviously, even till this week. Where I see Genius is, there's a reason why we were able to get that done, how important it was for our economy, the U.S. dollar, right? U.S. dollar-backed stablecoins, economic security is national security. I truly believe that. You've heard that from Secretary Besson, other folks in the admin. And the way I see this whole like U.S. dollar-backed stable economy, it's already like, if you look at some numbers, I mean, there's a bunch of numbers out there. It really made like a hockey stick on a volume perspective once Genius passed. Why is that? Because it brought more clarity, right? There's like legitimized, right? There's rules of like how issuers and registrations and oversight and things like that. So I think it's just really the start still of like how much adoption from an institutional basis that goes. And at the end of the day, people say like, oh, there's like the crypto space, like TradFi, crypto. I'm like, it's all just going to be fi. We're all just going to be like at a certain period, certain year, everything's just being normalized, right? I always use this example, like especially just like observing my like young kids, right, like 7 and 3 years old. Like I did this. I use this analogy because it's like it like sort of like took me back, because when when folks, and I don't know how old everybody is, but like when you say like, oh, I'll give you a call, right? You do this, right? This is a phone, everybody. But my daughter's like, what is that? What is this? So she's like, I'm like, that's not a phone, Daddy. I'm like, yes, it is. It's like, she's like, a phone is this. So her whole life, that became the BAU thing, right? That's how I envision like the future, where like it's just like, oh, I'm transacting. It's like super fast. Great, that is the norm, right? I don't have to wait a couple days. That's the norm. So that's like the future like outlook ecosystem that I hope that like my kids don't have to wait for, or write paper checks and things like that in the future.
No, understood. I think we're all working toward that goal. So we've covered Clarity, we've covered Genius a bit. Is there any other legislation or issues that are on your radar screen?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Genius is critically important. We're currently working on Clarity. There's also tax is critically important as well, right? Like, so for like folks to, a big thing was this also in the report is like how do we onshore companies that had to leave? Like a lot of these foundations and support had to leave because the environment wasn't there. Well, first, regulatory uncertainty, a very enforcement-friendly administration / regulatory financial regulators. So like, that's why they left, right? We want folks to come back home, right? But how do we do that? We need to set the regulatory parameters and the ecosystem to do that. But there's also tax implications, right? For businesses to establish themselves in our country. So that's a tax, obviously that's making its way. And then there's also like the Bitcoin Reserve, and now it was sort of rebranded by Rep. Begich, called the ARMA bill, the American Reserve Modernization Act. So that's also exciting to see. But there's plenty of things also in the banking and payment section, the insurance areas. There's also a whole cyber section that we're working collaboratively with Commerce and the NIST that's under Commerce, which is like the cyber experts, on sort of we don't want to create new rules or new standards for no reason, just for a specific industry, but like observations. So they should be coming out with that report sometime, hopefully in like the next couple of weeks.
Great. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that. Let's talk about tax for a second, and I think maybe there are two issues, right? There's giving guidance to new companies that are coming into creation, but there's also the existing crypto ecosystems that have a significant interest and I think would like to move back to the U.S., but they may face tax hurdles in doing so, and I assume that's part of what you're looking at.
Yeah, what I'll say for that, I won't give too much like tax advice. I'm not a tax person, but at a big picture level, is engage with the regulators accordingly and the government, right? It's like if you're seeing stuff, if you're seeing hurdles or challenges, like you guys are living it every day, right? You guys have a balance sheet, you guys have clients, so you guys see the numbers every day. So like, but what can the U.S. government do to make that better, right? Mm-hmm. And that makes informed decision making.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks for at least weighing in a bit on the tax issues. I think it was last year at our summit that Summer Mersinger predicted that the first U.S. perpetuals futures product would be approved. That's happened. Do you have a view on how the perps market in the U.S. may develop?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'll leave that to Chairman Seelig and things like that. in that world, I mean, we are aware of that, but obviously there was a lot of activity offshore, right? That was no surprise. And I guess the baseline comment that I'll make on that is any type of innovative trading strategy or mechanism and so forth. Volumes are very important for transparency for the rest of the market, so I think that's critically helpful. But on that kind of stuff, I'll leave it to Mike because he's very good.
Understood. I take it then. Although it goes a little bit beyond crypto, prediction markets are obviously a hot topic that might fall in that same bucket. Are you all looking at any issues related to the prediction markets now?
I've been focused on Clarity. To tell you the truth, I don't know what the algorithm is on my Twitter feed, but I'll see all things that are happening. Obviously, during my CFTC time, which was a sort of crossover from the prior admin to the new admin, there was a lot of buzz there, and obviously with the CFTC doing a lot of stuff there, I've been looking at it from a distance, but definitely there's a lot happening there.
Yeah, we understand, of course, that Clarity is taking up probably all of your time right now. Maybe just to return to it for a second, we talked about it a little bit today, but do you have any sense of a timeline on when we might get a vote? Well,
ultimately, we're as I mentioned, we're literally counting the days. I think the Senate's in session only till like the first week of August. So, that's we would ideally like to get it out of the Senate before recess. So it is no surprise that we are working hard to get that done.
Yeah, we know and appreciate that. So we'll continue to follow your efforts. you touched early on in our conversation about the reporting and recommendation function of the council. Is there anything we haven't covered that any recommendations that we haven't covered that you think are important to mention?
Yeah. So what I've realized was, because there's been so much focus on the financial regulatory space of things and the recommendations in the report it covers most of that area. But I welcome folks in the crypto/blockchain ecosystem that are doing stuff outside of that too. We've had a good amount of engagement, but I think I would appreciate more on the commercial use cases. And I love connecting folks to you're doing exciting stuff about tracing data of fish on the chain to know will I know if my bluefin tuna is from this XYZ location? That's perfect for blockchain, right? Supply chain management, that's perfect. And we have folks, our point person that does blockchain, crypto, commerce or treasury. I love having those collaborative interagency and private sector meetings, because it's always a nice break from talking about the same topic over and over again. And we have a open door policy, especially in the White House Crypto Council, to talk about those fun, exciting projects.
Yeah, that was one of my questions for you. How do industry participants reach out to you? How do they engage with the council? Yeah,
you have to write a hand mail. No, you don't have to just email us. I think that a lot of folks in the room know how to connect with us. If not, then I'm always open to take a meeting. A little crazy the next couple of days or weeks, but it's weird. I hear stories where thank you for responding so fast to me or getting back to us. I'm like, sure. That's it's normal, right? In the private sector, you don't respond to your boss, you're fired. So, but it's crazy to see that observation of appreciating government officials responding back to you, because I think we're public servants, right? And we are really believe and dedicated in blockchain technology and crypto and so forth. So come talk to us.
Can you share, and I think you did a little bit, some of the things you picked up from the industry meetings that maybe have influenced your approach on the council?
What has been helpful, especially for industry, is where they have business operations in other jurisdictions as well. Because it's really hard to, keep track of everything that's going on globally. But if someone comes out hey, this is our secret sauce and our business model. We operate in XYZ jurisdictions. And I always ask, what are you seeing? The industry is really our eyes and ears on the ground as well, real-time updates. That helps us too, while we think about policy. So that's been very helpful. That's why I say, email us, come talk to us. We're happy to talk.
Yeah, that's an interesting issue. Assuming and very hopefully we get clarity passed soon. Is there any thinking that maybe meetings with foreign regulators might be of use?
Well, that's a great question. We have, finance ministers, foreign ministers, are sort of our counterparts at other jurisdictions come and meet with us too. And actually, what did they ask? They're waiting to see what we are going to do. Whether it was, this stems from even early on in the part of the administration. They're so curious what the U.S. is going to do, because the U.S. has always led in any type of financial regulation or innovative regulation historically. So, they are, especially right now, they're waiting to see what we're going to do, the progress. We live in a great era where there's free access to information on the internet. But it's no surprise that everybody else is watching what the U.S. will do in this space.
Yeah, that's been our sense as well. It may be obvious, but can you talk a little bit about the path if we don't sort of get our act together? And
I'm a glass half full guy all the time. It's not that hot out, right, guys? I will make sure that I'll say what's in my instincts is we will work as hard as we can to get clarity over the line.
Appreciate it, and we're remaining optimistic as well. Can you talk a little bit, clarity obviously is dominating our conversation and dominating your time, but can you tell us anything about the future of the council and what it might look like 6 months down the road?
Well, I think again, glass half full guy. I think we'll be super, super happy. Things are passed. The regulators are writing their rules. There are more use cases, popping up in the U.S. More firms are coming onshore. We have more regulatory frameworks in place, and then we consistently keep winning. I'm a big fan of winning, so and being positive moves. So that's what I expect 6 months later.
I think that's a great thing to be a fan of. So might be safe to say tax issues might take a fair amount of your time if we get clarity where it needs to be. You've mentioned a few other things. Let's take it out a little further, and maybe not just limit it to the council, but where do you see crypto in 2 years in the United States? What does the industry look like?
I think in 2 years, there's already been tremendous amount of institutional adoption. When there's I feel like this is the same playbook when there's new technology, that the institutional adoption happens way faster, and then that trickles down to the consumer and things like that. Crypto's interesting because it did the whole reverse the retail consumer peer-to-peer from the genesis from there. That's sort of the roots of the merit of blockchain, but institutions have been moving and will move even faster with regulatory clarity, and then that's just going to grow, and then more businesses and more types of asset classes and trading strategies will happen. That's what I expect to see and I do want to see.
How big a component of that development, at least on the maybe retail side, not just retail but institutional, is education? Education
is key. I'll do another plug for why clarity is so important, because it provides the consumer protections needed, right, for this ecosystem to operate properly within the United States, right? It's clearly define what's the security, what's the commodity. Okay, you want to do XYZ activity. All right, get your registrations, right? There's protecting developers. There's BSA AML and all that. Literally, this it's interesting to me because we're obviously Republican administration. We want the rules, we want regulation. The industry has been asking for regulation. Please regulate us. Please give us the guidelines, right? I think that's very unique to the whole crypto ecosystem, and we are doing our best to make sure that happens.
Yeah, understood. Well, you touched on this as well. How important is it, and I think we see this in Clarity, we certainly saw it on Genius, how important is it for crypto to remain a bipartisan issue?
I don't think crypto is we should take politics out of crypto, totally, right? It is a technology, right? I'm sorry, if you're allergic to the internet, you should just stop, right? So, as I said, it's wild to me that it became this whole battle of good and evil, right? Yeah, people ask me all the time, it's a bipartisan. I'm why is that? I'm fairly new to this whole government and political thing, but it's just just use some common sense here, and then it gets pretty far, I realized, in the whole DC world.
Well, it certainly seems like Clarity. And we've heard a lot of optimism about its passage today as a good, sort of test and an example of bipartisan work that arrives in the right place with crypto, not to mention many other things in Washington. But we certainly appreciate you joining us. Any last thoughts you want to share, either personally or from the council, that we should be aware of and thinking about in the industry?
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate everyone making the time at the end of the day. I had to change up the schedule a couple times here. But, I think it's incredible that we have folks gathering. I think I go back to a couple of years ago where there was first conferences at a law firm conference room in the corner in New York. And now you have full-blown conferences where the OG crypto people, I see a couple OG people here, shout out to Gerald over there, he's one of the OG guys, where it's become a very mainstream and important thing, and it also is hit top news. there's a reason for that because this ecosystem has grown. There's, the importance of it in DC. The education piece has been set, so it's now time for us to shine. And then, folks who are, operating in other jurisdictions and things like that, thinking about coming back to the U.S., obviously we welcome that, and we welcome the engagement anytime. Just send us an email. We're happy to chat. Appreciate everyone's time today.
We appreciate yours, Harry, and your efforts on behalf of the industry. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.